Oh, it's still... Okay. Now it's saying that I'm live. So now let's see if the chat actually will acknowledge that they see me. Let's see if this actually works. Anyways. Can see in here. There we go. There we go. Okay. So a little bit before we get into this, this is not a typical Saturday video for me. Normally these would be pre-recorded things. There'd be the live chat and all that. But this time is actually a live streamed thing. So that means a couple of things. I will on occasion check the chat, but I'm not going to be keeping up with it the way I would on a live stream, like the bi-weekly Tuesdays. So I'm probably not going to catch much that isn't done as a super chat. Just be aware of that, just so this whole thing doesn't take forever. I'm aiming for about an hour. We'll see how long it actually takes. And then in addition to that, I should be clear that this tier ranking that I'm going off of is restricted to modern era Doctor Who. I considered some that included classic. The problem is there are still too many gaps in my classic Doctor Who viewing that there were just too many of the things that I just didn't know. I didn't recognize them. So I'm going with this one. So yeah, it does look like these are on here in a more or less random order. So yeah, I can just kind of take them as they come. So one of the things that's fun about these tier rankings as opposed to doing a hard number ranking is it gives me a little bit more wiggle room to be like, yeah, these two are kind of in the same area without having to boom, 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 every single one. So here we go. We'll start with what we've got here. Oh, it's the Vespa form. So I've got mixed feelings on Unicorn the Wasp for a number of reasons, partly because of who wrote it. But setting all that aside, I do enjoy that episode, but I've said and I will maintain that the Wasp is super random and just like, I think it's only there because it was on the cover of the book that they decided they were going to make as a reference thing. Like, there's no reason for it to be a wasp. It's not particularly thematic. It's not particularly inventive. It's pretty bad. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the wasp. The wasp is pretty bad. So that brings us to, what is his name? Was it Salazar? It was something with an S. I don't remember his name specifically, but this is the human villain from Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, which is an underappreciated episode in my book. That is a much better episode than people give it credit for. I think part of the reason it's fun to crap on it for a lot of people is because Chibnall wrote it. And I'm not saying it's great. Solomon, thank you, chat. But I actually think he's pretty interesting, and I like the way he kind of challenges the Doctor, that he thinks he's on top of things, but the Doctor kind of gets it underneath him. He's appropriately ruthless. He's not amazing, but I think he works pretty decently for the story. The only thing is, like, he's just not super memorable. He's not what sticks in your head about the episode. I honestly tend to think about his bickering robot lackeys before I think about him. So I'm going to go not bad, but not good for him. I was tempted to go pretty good, but like, honestly, I think he needed to be a little bit more memorable than he is to get up there. All right, the Flood. The Flood. So one of my continuingly controversial opinions on modern era Doctor Who is that The Waters of Mars is a very overrated episode. It's good. It's not bad. It is good, but people talk about it like it's God tier, and it's just not. And The Flood in particular, while a decently done execution of a variant of zombies, they are ultimately just zombies that infect you with water instead of blood. So I don't find them especially interesting. That having been said, they are utilized very well. And if I get over the fact that I don't think they're nearly as original or as scary as a lot of people give them credit for, they are used very effectively for the story they end, and they are quite memorable. I would not put them in a legendary category, but they are pretty good. My reservations about that particular episode being overrated aside, they are in fact pretty good. Oh, God. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. So, Chloe Webber. Forget what the actual thing is called that's infecting her. This thing is just, it's the whole idea behind Fear Her is so weird. And it would be one thing if it lent into just being weird and surreal, but it's not. It can't seem to decide on a tone. And it's so bizarre and like a lot of the plot feels like it would have been more at home in the Sarah Jane Adventures. Yet at the same time, it's dealing with things like familial abuse. And I'm like, this. But again, I'm assessing the villains and the monsters, not the story. It's still not very effective. Like, what this thing wants, how it behaves is very ill-defined, and I never feel good picking on a child actor, but, like, she does not bring whatever was going to be needed to make this thing work. They really should have overlaid some other voices in there so it wasn't just her whispering, because, boy, does that not sound like it's pretty awful. Yeah. I feel a little bad about that, but it's pretty awful. So, okay. So this is the Command Dalek from Journey's End and the Stolen Earth. Now, I'm a sucker for the Commander Daleks for a couple of reasons. One being, I love the super deep voice that they do when they really pitch Nick Briggs down a lot. And they really just have it be booming and resonant. And that, like, I like Daleks anyways. I think they're already pretty dang good villains. But you add that depth to the voice, and it's, that does something to me. That, honestly, like, it's arguable that the Daleks, just as a thing, should already be considered legendary. But, like, you give me that booming voice. Yep. I like it. I like it a lot. Davros. Okay. So I got to think carefully about this. And I also need to try and detach my feelings about Davros in the classic from this, because I'm going to try and assess it just from uses in Modern Who. The reason I need to do that is one of the things that really frustrates me about Davros is that as good a character as he is, once he was introduced in Genesis of the Daleks, basically every single Dalek story became a Davros story going forward from there. And that frustrates me. And I like Davros, but I feel like there's plenty to do with the Daleks without him. But again, that's a classic era issue. So limiting it to modern, that gives us his appearance in Stolen Earth and Journey's End, and The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. So I think his reintroduction with Tennant was pretty much flawless for what it was going to be in terms of reintroducing him, what his deal is, his anger, the fact that he doesn't really fully properly control the Daleks, even though he likes to think he does, his nihilism, that was all there really well. The one where he faced off against Capaldi, I'm a little bit more mixed on, because I really kind of wished that his whole pleading to the Doctor had been sincere. I don't like that it turns out to be a trick. Like, it tracks. It's something he would do. But first of all, for all the guy's skills, I have a hard time believing he's that good an actor. Like, you're a scientist. That doesn't make you a good actor. But even beyond that, like, it would have been a great way to close out his timeline. You could still have him show up again at earlier points in his timeline, but it would have been a great way to kind of close out his timeline, kind of in the way they did with Missy. And I really wish they'd done that. So I think because of that, he's going to go into pretty good. He is good, though. The dolls from Night Terrors. The general thing I get from them is that I feel like people who are afraid of them are just have an inherent fear of dolls or mannequins. And as someone who doesn't, they are generic. They function. There's nothing really wrong with them, but like it's just the generic threat. And they fit the aesthetic for the general vibe that the thing's going for. So there isn't anything really bad about them, and there really isn't anything that great about them either. Yeah, like, I'm not particularly spooked by dolls or clowns, so when I see things that feel like they're leaning on the inherent creepiness of these things, as opposed to giving me a reason to be afraid of them, it doesn't work for me, and I kind of feel like that's the case here. It's part of the reason I don't like the It movies all that much either. But, like, there's nothing really wrong with them. So, not bad, but not good for them. So, okay. The monks. This is another one where I have to keep in mind the difference between the monsters and the story they were saddled with. Because, Extremis? Yes, it's Extremis, is really good. Honestly, that's one of my favorite of Capaldi's era. I love that episode a lot. And even the first half of their two-parter is decent. And then even the start of Lie of the Land is pretty good. It just falls apart about halfway through. A little less than that. But them as villains, I actually really like. I really like the way that they operate and the fact that they insist on very sincere consent to basically take over a world. I like that they have very effective propaganda, which includes altering people's minds, but it's also like giving the impression that there are far more of them than there appear to be. I actually think that the whole way that there's no reason to ever bring them back. Let me be clear about that. But I think the whole way that they operate is actually really fascinating and really interestingly thought out, and they are delightfully creepy to look at. I actually think they're pretty good. Issues with the stories in which they appear, or at least the tail end of those aside, I think they are pretty solid. So that brings us to the Headless Monks. It actually took me, I was looking at this tier. I wasn't figuring out where to put people, but I was looking at this tier in advance, and it took me a minute to even realize what this was. But the Headless Monks are pointless. They're pointless. Like, it's a neat visual, but there's no, like, they're just there to have something creepier than just soldiers manning the base at Demon's Run for A Good Man Goes to War. But, like, they don't do anything. And unlike, say, the dolls from Night Terror, they don't even, like, add to the aesthetic. They're actually kind of clashing with the aesthetic of everything else going on. They're pretty bad, actually. They eat up a chunk of time that just they don't deserve. They're not great. And I like that episode a lot. And I'm not going to put them in awful because they don't drag it down for me, but they add nothing, and it probably would have worked a little bit better without them there. Okay. So, these are the sort of choking cloth rag scarf things from the Ghost Monument in Series 11. Here's the thing about these. A lot of people made a lot of fun of these things pretty much right off the bat. thought they were super stupid, calling them, well, I can see in the chat, calling them, rags, the killer bed sheets, all this stuff. And like, yes, but here's why I like them. They don't make sense to us, which is why people make fun of them. It's why they pick on them like, why would anyone make a weapon that operates this way? Well, someone with a completely different thought process, with an alien thought process, with an alien approach to weaponry, with an alien societal history in terms of what qualifies and is used as a weapon. I like them because they feel like they were invented by a mind that works completely different from a human mind. And I like that a lot. It's something that I wish Doctor Who would do more. And actually, it's something I wish science fiction in general would do more. There seems to be this assumption that once a species becomes spacefaring, it's like all technology kind of standardizes. Like they've all got ray guns, and they all have, a close equivalent to teleportation and this and that. Like, and you'll think about different ways to do the technology, but not enough creators put thought into, yeah, but what if they just did something that to us makes no sense because we just would never think to do it that way, but they might. And that's what I feel like these things are. That having been said, I don't love the whole thing where like they scan the Doctor's brain and find out about the timeless child, which doesn't even make sense given what we find out later and that she doesn't even have this stuff in her head. So unfortunately, as much as I actually love these things conceptually, the actual writing and execution of them isn't great, which is kind of a standard thing with a lot of Chibnall stuff. So they're going to go in not bad, but not good. And I hope people understand why I won't put them lower than that. So, Krasco. So, this is another one. Like, here's the thing. I've ended up not wanting to be, because I don't think he's had a good run, but I've ended up being a little bit of a soft defender of Chibnall. Not that I don't think he hasn't done a lot of lousy stuff, because, boy, he really, really has. But, like, some of the stuff he gets hammered on, I'm like, there's really nothing particularly wrong with that. I think Krasco is another example because, again, people found it very easy to mock the idea of, oh, he's just a space racist. He's just a future racist. That's really dumb. Why would somebody who has that level of technology and that far in the future still be caught up in these petty things? Well, why are we still caught up in them? Why are we in this century with our level of technology and our level of understanding that people are not fundamentally different based on the color of their skin? Why do we still have trouble with this? Is it really that unbelievable that somewhere in the far future there are still people who hold these grudges? We like to think they would fade away, but if they haven't yet, why would they in the future? It'd be nice if they would. Like, absolutely, don't get me wrong, but like, treating it as an automatic assumption, no, I could buy that there's still some people like this. And I think his plan, while, again, another thing that got picked on him for was the idea that, like, well, his plan is stupid. All he was going to do was stop one person when there was an entire movement of civil rights and all that. So, yeah, yes, that's true. His plan is stupid. But it's a plan that would make sense to somebody with these biases. If you ever have had the unfortunate circumstances of talking to someone who is bigoted against a group that you are not actually in, so they think it's safe for them to express these thoughts around you, you will find some insanely conspiratorial things, but also some deeply overly simplified ideas. And again, I feel like he embodies that pretty well. And I actually think the performance is decent. So I actually say he's pretty good. He's not amazing. I don't want to oversell him, but I think the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I think if you're going to have a villain with this motivation, that's the way to do it. I think he works pretty well. But people are going to snapshot these, and I'm just going to get torn apart. Like, they're going to take stills and not have the context of me explaining why I'm putting some of these where, and I'm just going to get torn apart for this. Hell, I'm going to own it at this point. Yes, so the god figures in Can You Hear Me? So, I am already on record saying that Can You Hear Me is, we haven't seen the centenary special at time of recording, but is the best episode of Jodie Whittaker and Chibnall's era. I stand by that. I think it is actually an amazing episode. I love it. And they are part of the reason why. I like them both fully logistically in terms of it's been so long since we've had someone show up that just is rightfully not fazed by the Doctor. Just not impressed by her. Like, yeah, no, we know who you are. We know what you can do. So what? The Time Lords are not the end-all, be-all. They're not the peak. There are things greater than you, and they even name-drop some of them. So, I already like them for that. But then metaphorically, the way they work and how that feeds into the story in the episode, because their whole thing is it's going to worlds and pitting two sides against each other till it's all destroyed, which is metaphorically how it's framing a lot of depression, which is a part of your brain is basically attacking the other parts. That's how that can often work. And unless you can sort of get things to settle well enough to start to, get a support structure in place, work with a therapist, get medication, whatever you need, yeah, you kind of tear yourself apart from the inside out. That's how they operate. So I like them on the literal level of how they work. I really like them on the metaphorical level of how they work. I know there's the criticism that it feels like they're defeated too easily. It doesn't bother me, but I also, more relevant to doing this tier list, I don't think it diminishes their effectiveness as villains. I don't think it did. I think they're legendary. I'm gonna get so much crap. Oh, man. Okay. So this is interesting. So this is from The Lodger. See, I can come up with these things if I think for a minute. This is from The Lodger. This is just the ship. So it's not the Silence, but it is a silent ship. And this was actually interesting. This is something that I do like when Doctor Who and sci-fi in general does, which is how automated systems, in the absence of what they were supposed to do, just start operating in ways that weren't necessarily what's intended. You see it in this. You get it in The Girl in the Fireplace, where like the Clockwork Droids were programmed to use whatever was available to fix the ship, and were never told to not make use of the organic life on the ship if they could patch things up with it. And so this is operating on a similar level, and I like that in general, this idea of like it's just going to keep burning through every single person on the planet if it has to until it finds someone who actually will function as a pilot, because that's what it's programmed to do. And I just like that as a threat. It doesn't have a ton of personality, this kind of rudimentary AI generally doesn't, but I actually think it's pretty dang effective for an episode that I'm otherwise mixed on. I say it's pretty good. Oh, the Absorbaloff. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, this is another case where I need to try and divorce the creature and the villain itself from the story, because I know that over time Love and Monsters has garnered some defenders. I'm sorry, I still think it's really, like, I appreciate what it's trying to do. I think it's still really bad. Really bad. So, but setting that aside and just dealing with him on his own, and with all apologies and respect to Channel Pup, who is lovely, but between the look being one that's hard to take seriously and the performance just not really working at all, and it would be fine if he wasn't actually effectively killing people. I think there's a disconnect between how goofy he is and how dangerous he is in a way that I don't find appealing. Ultimately, I think the episode he's in is worse than him, so I'm going to put him at pretty bad. If I were ranking the episodes, the episode would go on awful. Oh, okay. So the planet God thing from Rings of Akatan. I keep forgetting about this thing because it leaves almost no impression on me. Like, about the only thing I remember from that episode is the leaf, and that the doctor gives a speech about memory that, ironically, I don't remember a lot of the details of. So, like, I like the idea of this, again, because it's a wonderfully alien concept of this sort of living star pulling and sustaining itself on memories and possibilities and all these things. Like, it's a neat idea. I don't think the story it's in does the idea justice at all, though. I'm going to go with not bad, but not good, because, again, I don't think there's that much wrong with the concept, but boy, does it not get done justice. All right, what are we up to? The Nestine and the Autons. Well, I suppose this is just the Autons, technically. So, confession time. I don't really like the Autons in any version I've seen them in. I've seen some classic. I've seen them in modern. They don't do a lot for me. That said, as a villain, especially for the very first episode of the Revived series, in sort of getting the impression across of what we're going to be dealing with, what's a typical day in the Doctor's life like, they're effective at that. But again, a bit like the dolls from Night Terrors, I just don't find mannequins creepy. So they don't do much for me. I know a lot of people bump them up higher because, like, they're a legacy villain, but I just think they're not bad, but not good either. So, I have... Whoops! Oh, hang on a second. I just accidentally... I gotta pop that out again. All right, here we go. Sorry, I had accidentally X'd out of the chat. And I want to be able to see what you folks are saying. Again, I'm just kind of peering at it. Reminder, if you came in later, like, Super Chat's probably the only way you're really gonna actively get my, attention, because otherwise we're gonna be here forever. Oh, geez, I gotta pick up the pace. I gotta pick up the pace on this. Holy cow. All right, let's see here. There's a lot of these. I gotta go faster than I'm going. Okay. Oh my gosh. Why is this out of my head? Vashta Narada. Yes. They're legendary. I'll just go ahead and plop them right up there, because just the idea of the shadows in and of themselves. Not every shadow, but any shadow. The way they act as a hive mind, I can be iffy on hive minds. I think they work really well. The fact that these bodies still walk and they repeat the line, it's creepy, it's awesome. The idea of these things just in the shadows is already scary. The way they are able to embody them, and oftentimes taking a more abstract villain and giving it a more traditional form will annoy me. But like here, I think it actually works really well. I think they're fantastic. Mr. Sweet. And actually, I don't even think he's the villain. I think she's the villain. I forget her name now. But she is actually... It was interesting going back and rewatching Crimson Aura, because she's way more effective as a villain than I remembered her being, especially when it comes to conversations with her daughter, and you realize how much of the whole thing is actually about familial abuse and how horribly she has treated her daughter. And she does a really good job of embodying a very specific kind of deeply toxic parental figure. I think she's pretty good. All right, so what the hell is that? What is this? What even? I don't know what that is. All right, we're going to come back to that, because if anyone can figure out what the hell this is even supposed to be, I feel like they misaligned the image. I don't know what that is. Somebody else figure it out. So we'll move to Eye Patch Lady, whose name I now forget, who was fine. she worked well enough as a figurehead for Series 6 as a recurring villain, but she never really felt as like she was at her most effective in Good Man Goes to War, in the way she kind of outsmarted the Doctor. But other than that one appearance, she was just kind of generically mysterious. Yeah, she was fine. All right. From Flatline. Oh, I think you're right. I think this is the Boneless. Okay. Ooh. So, I like Flatline quite a bit. It's a pretty good episode. It does a lot of good stuff for moving Clara's story forward, working on that dynamic between her and the Doctor. I actually like Danny Pink, and so, how that's impacting that relationship works really well. The Boneless themselves are a really interesting villain, but they were more effective before they actually pulled out of the walls and started lurching at them like zombies. When it was just this flatness that was trying to also make you two-dimensional, it was way more interesting to what they actually became later, which was these two-dimensional things moving about and shooting freaking lightning from their fingers, which unfortunately brought them down a bit. That said, they're still pretty good. The bits before they sort of solidify are still good enough. Okay. The Carrionites from the Shakespeare Code. Then the only reason they work at all is thematically, because of the ties to, witches in Shakespeare, most particularly in Macbeth. So they're fine. I think the thing is they are in the best story that they were ever going to work in, but they also are not great. They're not bad, but they're not good. Their theme music is quite good. Cassandra. Oh, yes, this bigoted piece of flatbread. Yep. So she is quite good. I think her second appearance doesn't work nearly as well, and in hindsight, I'm not sure how much I like about sort of giving her a little bit of a redemption. But don't worry about the fact that I actually said Macbeth. I'm not in a theater. If I was in a theater space, I wouldn't say it, but I'm not. But Cassandra is effective, especially in her first appearance. Her second one, not as much, but not enough to drag her below pretty good. Oof, sorry. Got a hiccup there on myself. Charlie. Dang it. You know what? Kerblam came in with such a good idea. It's got a great vibe. It has great energy. I want to like Kerblam, and I used to like Kerblam a lot more than I do. But a lot of what's wrong with it circles around Charlie, how much of a straw man he is, and framing him as the villain in the way they do, and the way the episode fails to recognize what the actual problem is. I went off on a whole rant when I did the Take Two review. Charlie's pretty bad. He's pretty bad. No, actually, he's awful. Charlie's awful not because the performance is terrible, but because his execution and how he functions as a villain is actually deeply detrimental to what was good about that episode prior. Because I think there is a lot of good in Kerblam, but it falls apart so hard, and almost all of it centers around him. He drags it down. He's awful. The Clockwork Droids. I already kind of mentioned how I like inherently the idea of machines that are just going about what they were programmed to do. It's just once dropped into circumstances the people who designed them didn't imagine, then that programming suddenly becomes a problem. They've got a really cool look, both with or without the masks. Honestly, I kind of say they're legendary. I'm kind of putting them over the top on the basis of I just smile whenever I see somebody cosplaying one of these things. And I'm like, yeah, that's good stuff. Okay. The Sontarans. So, the Sontarans are tough because they really are a mixed bag. Sontarans can be great or they can be meh. And that's true in classic and in modern. But when they're good, they're great. I think they're quite good in the two-parter they get with Tennant. I actually really like War of the Sontarans. It's the only episode I like from Flux, but I like it a lot. But in between, there was the whole stretch where they were basically treated as a joke. And it's kind of because of Strax. Not Strax's fault. Strax is a good character, but they decided, oh, we're going to have any Sontaran we see for a while behave like that. And it's like, oh, okay. I unfortunately, because of how uneven they are, taking the totality of their use in the modern era together, I'm debating between pretty good and not bad but not good. That's where the debate is right now. I'm still gonna go pretty good, but it's not by much. They're kind of hanging on by a thread. Cyberman. So this is another one that, like, when it's good, it's great. Because when it's great, you get World Enough in Time. And holy crap. But I don't like that they went for a while with the alternate universe Cybermen. Nightmare in Silver wasn't good. The thing is, the more I think about it, I think they've only had a couple of sporadic good uses as villains in modern Doctor Who. I like the one that's just trying to get a hold of anybody it can in the Pandorica Opens. I actually think they're interestingly used in oh cripes. Whatever the one is that where Craig comes back, where they're underneath the mall. They're decently good. They're amazing in World Enough in Time, but the other stuff isn't great. So again, I'm debating between not bad but not good or pretty. I'll go pretty good. Because again, when they're good, they're great. But what is that? Is that the Eaters of Light? I think it is. I think that's what that is. Chat, confirm that. Closing time, thank you. Chat, confirm that for me. And I'll come back to it. The hand robots. The hand robots are pretty bad. They are the weakest aspect of an episode that I otherwise really like. I think that The Girl Who Waited is a fantastic episode, but the hand robots, like, and I get why they're so easy to take down, because like they're not designed to actually be security or whatever. But like one of them goes down because Rory just breaks a painting canvas over its head, and it goes down. Like, really? There's really not much to them. So it is Eaters of Light. They're pretty bad. They're not awful, but like they're fairly generic. As interesting an idea conceptually as like something that devours light is, there's just almost nothing done with them, and they're just generic horde monster. There's just not much there. Oh, the Dalek from Dalek. Legendary. Absolute legend, that one. Especially if I'm putting the Supreme Dalek up here, dude. Yeah, that Dalek specifically, oh, so good. So good. And does such a good job of using just one Dalek to show this is why they are terrifying. So then later when they show up in numbers, you're like, oh, crap. It's good. It's good. So good. And Dalek, which one is this? This is Dalek Sec. So I don't know if they're gonna, okay, yeah, they've got the sort of merged version later on. So this is just when he is a Dalek and he's leading the cult of Skaro. I'm gonna say he's pretty good. I think they did a decent job of having the cult of Skaro be more imaginative and behave in ways the Doctor couldn't predict. I kind of wish they'd done more with that before getting rid of them, but no, it's pretty solid. That just looks like generic, somewhat aged Dalek from which is familiar. I don't think that's supposed to be anything specific. It's a Dalek, though. It's still pretty good. Actually, you know what? It's just it's a filler Dalek, so it's just there to take up space. It's not bad, but it's not good. Like, other Daleks can be good. That one just, whatever. Is that? Who is that? What is she from? Because for a second, I was mistaking her for Miss Foster over here. I'm not... Somebody remind me who she is. This is the Dalek from Revolution? of the Daleks. The one where like they're being used as cops. That was an interesting idea that was not properly fleshed out. That could have been a lot better than it is. So I'm going to go with not bad, not good. Like lower end of Daleks, decent idea, but eh. So let's, oh, Time Heist. Oh, she's the one from Time Heist. I completely forgot about her. I 100% forgot about her. I don't remember her being bad though. So we'll go not bad, but not good. Oh, I'm realizing now that I'm actually going to have to adjust this window a little bit because pretty soon I'm not going to be able to see. Okay, there we go. So if I do that, how's that look? There we go. Because if I kept it at the size that it was, I was not going to be able to see anything pretty soon. Okay. All right. So coming back, and let's see. So, the dregs from Orphan 55, they're pretty bad. They're not awful, and it's only because the design is actually pretty decent, well, until they put it out in daylight. When it's in the darkness, it's pretty good. But, like, conceptually, they're uninteresting, unoriginal. Actually, you know what? Take it back. I'm going to put them at awful because the fact that they show them in broad daylight shows that they didn't even understand the limited capacity in which these things worked visually. So, yeah. Now, this is interesting because I'm not sure I would have considered Ashildr to be the villain of Face the Raven. She's kind of the problem in a lot of ways, but I don't know. It feels almost odd to consider her the villain. But if that's how they're doing it, assessing her as a villain, I guess she falls under the category of sort of an uncaring villain. Oh, Renard City Update Channel, thank you very much for the super chat. Are you my mummy friends still mock me with this? Oh, we'll get there. It's coming up. But as sort of an unfeeling villain, someone who has their own agenda and isn't trying to do bad things, but like doesn't really care if people get hurt, she works pretty effectively for that. But again, I have a hard time even thinking of her as the villain, so I'm going to go with not bad, but not good. Like, effective enough. And I do like Face the Raven quite a bit. And I like the character, but if I'm assessing her as a villain, it's going to be middling. If I'm assessing her as a character, she'd actually be higher. I think that... Is that the editor? He's really small. Chat, confirm to me that that's the editor, and I'll come back to him. Sasha Dewan's Master. Whew. I feel like I'm only going to have a solid final answer with him after the Centenary special. But right now, I feel like his manic energy works quite well. He is quite intimidating. He gets introduced really well. But I also kind of feel like he later on got used largely as a vehicle for exposition of really bad ideas, i.e. the Timeless Child. So he's going to go in pretty good. He is good, but use on him is yeah. So let's see. So I think we did. Oh no, they're saying it's Mr. Finch. So it's not the editor. It's Mr. Finch. Oh. Mr. Finch is legendary. He's legendary because it's Anthony Stewart Head, and there are not a lot of villains. There's not a lot of actors who you can have go face to face with the Doctor, and be someone who isn't recurring, has no history, but can still project this sense of, oh, this guy's a threat to the Doctor and come across as legitimately intimidating. He can pull it off. I've been saying for years that I want him to come back. I don't care about the rest of the Krillitanes, but I want him back. He was so good. So good. Ha. Oh, are you my mummy? Oh, God. Immediately. Legendary tier. That thing freaked me out. It freaks me out not just because of the mask and the, oh, you my mummy. Just the more, it's one of those things where the more I found out about it, the scarier I actually found it. Because it has this whole thing of it's so powerful, but it's also got the fractured mind of a child and it doesn't even understand the damage it's doing. And I find that horrifying. I gotta go faster. Family of Blood, legendary. Mother of Mine, Father of Mine, Sister of Mine. Oh, they're all so good. They're all so good. They're so unnerving. Just the sniffing, like, oh, they're great. And to have, like, it would have worked with just the one, but having the 4 of them, oh yeah, they're fantastic. The Jadoon. The Jadoon are not good, but they're not bad, but they're not good. Like the whole thing with them is they've just kind of been stand-ins for like, we need some grunts that aren't 100% evil. They're a little bit meh. They just get slotted in for that. And they work fairly effectively. They work in Fugitive of Jadoon. They work in Smith and Jones. But like, as a character in and of themselves, like, I certainly wasn't clamoring to have them back. Miss Foster. Like the whole thing with the adipose, you know what? Okay, if I'm not thinking of the adipose as a villain, just the way she operates, she works, again, a little bit kind of in the way a Shielder does, although more definitively villainous in terms of being just an uncaring villain. Like, she has what she's doing, she doesn't really care what the damage is, as long as she gets done what she wants. She's actually pretty good for that. I actually think Partners in Crime is kind of an overrated episode, but she's fine. Prisoner Zero is effective in the episode that he's in, which is 11th Hour, but is probably one of the weaker elements. He's a filler villain because that episode is doing so much. It's introducing a new doctor, new companions, the way in which the two of them met, which is unusual. Like, the Prisoner Zero just is the thing that needs to be there because there needs to be a monster. And he works, but he's not fantastic, so we'll drop him there. The Minotaur. I like the Minotaur a lot. I like the look of it. I like conceptually how it works. I love the idea that it feeds off of faith, and I love the way that works. And the fact that it's effectively in a prison and it doesn't even want to be there or kind of rather die, but if you're going to put food in front of it, it's going to eat. Most people can't willfully starve themselves, and he can't. He's He's good. Oh, the Doctor. Interesting that they have the Doctor here and not the cyborg. I guess the Doctor is a bit more of the villain. Not the Doctor, but this Doctor. I forget his name. From A Town Called Mercy. He's pretty bad, actually. If you were assessing him as a villain, as a character, he's fine. As a villain, all his villainy is historical. None of it is stuff he's doing right now. Really, at least that I can remember. I can never remember A Town Called Mercy that well. Missy, straight to legendary. Missy is one of the best iterations of the Master, and she frequently battles it out with Delgado in my head for being the best iteration of the Master. I love Missy so much. So much. She is just, mwah. She's excellent. The Burninators, I don't know what they're actually called, but the Burninators from 42, deeply unnecessary. That was an episode and that was a story where the situation was the threat and that was enough. It did not need a monster. That having been said, the whole burn with me thing is a bit unnerving and it's relatively effective, but the fact that they don't need to be there at all but still are, I'm going to go with pretty bad. The head crabs. Again, I forget what they actually are. But the head crabs from Last Christmas. They look creepy when they do the open up. That's actually quite unnerving. The way they work, I actually like they're pretty good. They're pretty good, those things. I actually wouldn't even mind those things coming back, which to me is usually a sign of being pretty good. Who the heck is that? Is that Mr. Razor? Chat confirm for me on that. The emoji bots. I actually like the emoji bots. I think they're pretty good. For a similar reason that I brought up with the Clockwork Droids and the rest, they're machines. They don't think like people. And when they encounter something that they don't have the programming to deal with, they don't know how to react, and they respond in a way that is not what we would want, but we didn't account for it when programming them. I actually think they're pretty effective. I like them. And the idea of just the use of emojis works pretty well. Like Stu Bagful is an excellent episode on that. Kazran Sardik. Oh, okay. So that's Christmas Carol. He's fine. It's an alternate version of Scrooge. He's fine. He works for it. I couldn't even recognize him. So, the invisible monster from Vincent and the Doctor. In terms of effective use in the story, really good. Really good. And like metaphorical and how it works and what it is and how it impacts things and the way the episode frames and deals with depression and the impact not only of the people who are depressed, but the people around them trying to help, but they can't see the thing that is causing pain. It works really well. It wouldn't work especially well taken out of that context. And it's a little bit like, it's kind of got like a weird chicken face and all this, but it's really good for the story it's in. And so for that, I'm going to go with pretty good. The Gelth. The Gelth they're fine. They're not bad, they're not good. They're just kind of generic. Oh, we tricked you into helping us, but we're actually bad. But, they're just these wispy things. It's not uninteresting, but like I keep forgetting they're a thing, which is usually not a great sign. How we doing? Oh, boy. Okay, pick up the pace. Pick it up. The Future Kind. The Future Kind are pretty bad. Actually, for the exact same reason that the Burninators are bad, which is that the story doesn't need them. Like, the threat is the universe is ending. Time is collapsing. Entropy has won. Adding in, like, jagged teeth humans is just not necessary. They don't need to be there. They're fine, but them being not needed drops them down there. So, this douche. Okay, so first of all, I do have to set aside, for the purpose of this, my feelings about Chris Noth in specific, which aren't great right now. But how effective was he as a villain? Not too bad, actually, having rewatched at least his first appearance. While I think the political, metaphorical, presidential Trumpian stuff was unnecessary, in terms of, again, that very unfeeling villain, uncaring, indifferent villain who's just going to do what he wants and he doesn't care. He just wants things to go his way regardless of the fallout. He's pretty effective for that. I don't want to do this because I want to put him lower because I hate arachnids in the UK. I hate that. And I want to put him in pretty bad or even awful, but I can't bring myself to it because for what he is, he's decently effective. Oh, this was the woman who put the bug on Donna's back for left turn. Or turn left. I always do it backwards. I always say left turn it, but it's turn left, I think. It's I can't remember. But she, like, does almost nothing. She's just there. She's just the thing that plants it. And she works for that, but, like, there isn't a lot of personality to her. The gangers. I like the gangers because it does a good job of, like, how messy and complicated their situation is and sort of justifying their anger for how they have been treated, thinking that it's not, thinking that they aren't conscious, but treating them the way that they do. I actually think they're pretty good. I think that two-parter in general is underrated. Who the hell is that? And who the hell is that? I don't know who either of these two are. Chat, help me out. I'm moving on to the Emperor Dalek, who does have that big booming voice that I love so much, but honestly, he didn't do much. And I suppose you could argue neither did the Supreme Dalek, but the difference is I felt like for how built up the Emperor Dalek is, I feel like he should have done more. Yeah. Just gonna go in pretty good. This is from Flux. Hawthorne, I don't remember. Oh, and okay, so this guy is the the Prime Minister from Beast Below. I hadn't thought of him as a villain. I would have thought of the Smilers. But if we take it as him being in control of them, he's actually pretty good in terms of believing that what he's doing is necessary, even while recognizing that it's pretty terrible. Yeah, actually. I had never even thought to assess him as a villain. But, yeah. Gat from Fugitive of the Jadoon. God, I don't remember her at all. Like, at all. Which means she goes in the middle. You might think that would put her at pretty bad, but, like, you'd have to do something to stick in my head as being bad. If I can't remember you at all, that's just the definition of mid. The Ood. So assessing the Ood as villains is interesting, because really the only time that they're villains is when they're under the command of the Beast in The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. This stream's going to go longer than I planned. I'm already accepting that. I am that said, I am going to try and move along. So if we're dealing, we're going to have to deal specifically with the possessed Ood, because the Ood we see in Planet of the Ood, they are not the villains. They are the heroes. So they basically just work as a horde, and they could have been replaced with almost anything. So assessing the possessed Ood, they are suitably creepy, but you also could have replaced them with almost anything, and it would have been effectively the same. So that's got to go in the middle. Oh, dear God. The Dalek Sec Hybrid. What a fascinating idea that was super unpleasant to look at, not interesting to listen to, and didn't really go anywhere. It was pretty bad. Like, I love the concept behind how he came to be, but, like, there just isn't much there. The Ice Warriors, they've been interesting in the revival, because they've only popped up the 2 times so far, Cold War and Empress of Mars. And I think they've been handled relatively decently, but nothing is really... Like, if they'd been anything else, they would have been just kind of like, oh, yeah, right, those things. The fact that they have a legacy adds a little bit, but not a lot. They're not bad, but they're not good. They haven't been given a great story yet. Who is that? Sheriff of Nottingham? Confirm that for me, chat. You guys are really helpful. I appreciate that. Oh, the Angels from Voyage of the Damned. Yeah, they're pretty bad, actually. I don't think the look is that impressive. The number of times you hear them go, information, kill. I hate machines that announce what they're doing as they do it. I hate that as a trope. So, yeah, they're pretty bad. So, anyway, the sheriff, yes, it is. Yes, it's the sheriff. Okay. The sheriff, he was good. He was fine. I actually like Robots of Sherwood a lot, but it's largely for the banter and the vibe and the rollicking adventure, and a lot of it's Robin. The sheriff was fine. Like, he might have gone higher, except I can't think of Sheriff of Nottingham without thinking of Alan Rickman from Robin Hood and the Prince of Thieves. And I wish I could remember any of the lines from that, because I quote them, but it's hard to measure up. Oh, God, The Wire. Oh, God. So this is even setting aside the reasons that I do and always will deeply loathe The Idiot's Lantern. Even setting all those aside, which I've done multiple videos on, I'm not going to go on it here. The Wire starts out so interesting with that calm voice like, are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin, but just devolves into this thing that just goes, feed me, hungry. I'm like, shut up. By the time it's done, I hate her so much. It could have been really good. They had a really good actress for what they were going for the vibe, and then they just, oh, it's so bad. The Jagrafess. The Jagrafess of the Holy Something Maxillate Rodentfoe, something. I don't know. I can't remember. The Jagrafess is, it's not bad, it's not good. It's a generic ceiling monster. It works, but like the editor is the way more effective villain of that. And I'll be curious to see if he pops up on here because they don't seem to be doing too much in the way of multiple villains from the same story. They seem to be picking one. So if that's what they're picking for the villain for, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. If that's what they're picking for the villain from the long game, then they went with the weaker one because the editor is actually quite good. He's whatever. The mighty Jagrafess of the holy Hedrajasic Maxarodentfoe. Thank you, Haslikes Tech. Well done. So okay. Oh, the Santa robot. The Santa robots are pretty. I'm tempted to go awful. We're gonna go with pretty bad, just because they fit the aesthetic. They fit the holiday aesthetic fine, but like whatever. Oh, I forget her name, but from the Bells of St. John. I actually rather like her. She feels very in command, and then what happens at the end is deeply tragic. Like, it unsettles me that when she gets released from the Great Intelligence's sort of hold over her, that, like, she's been in his control for so long, she thinks she's still a child. Like, the tragedy brings it up to pretty good for me. That gives it an extra boost. What the hell is that? I don't know what that is. Chat, help me out there. We'll move on to... Okay, so we're going with human villain from Demons of the Punjab. Not bad, but not good. You know, he is effective for what he's used for. That was a story that for what it's doing, it needed to have a human villain. And he does it decently enough. Gridlock. Oh, it's the Macra. Also pretty bad, actually. That's another case of the story didn't need the monster. You know, Gridlock would have worked just as well, if not better, without them. Oh, geez, hold on. I gotta shrink down there we go. I gotta shrink that down again, just because I need to be able to see the dang thing. Okay. Alrighty, moving on. Oh, the Dream Master. Love him. I love the Dream Lord so much. That's another one who I want to come back. I don't care what the logistics are. I don't care how you do it. Oh, Toby Jones was so good, and he was so skeevy, and he was such a perfect counterbalance, specifically to the Smith Doctor, but I want to see how he shapes up being a counterbalance to any of the later Doctors. Oh, he was so good. So good and irritating. He's skeevy and mwah. I guess we are doing multiple things from this, because these are the robots from Robot Sherwood, and we've got the Sheriff. They're pretty bad. Like, they're just generic. They could have been anything. Okay, so this dude and the whole sand people, I guess I'll call them, from Sleep No More. I'm debating right now between not bad, not good, and pretty bad. Because, like, conceptually, I just think they're so stupid. But there was a little bit of effective imagery. Him falling apart at the end is decent as a final note of a horror thing goes. But it's also, for the horror genre, it's very generic. Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad. We'll go with that. The Raven itself. Interesting. Not bad, not good, because it's not a character. It's just a function. And it's not even like some of the monsters that we don't get to know that well, but like the Raven is a plot function. And as a plot function, it's great, but it's like, I can't really assess it as a villain. Oh, these things, the things that split their head. I always forget these things exist. And then I remember, and I know I've said with some of the other things, when I forget it exists, it goes in mid, except whenever I remember them, I'm like, oh yeah, and like he had a gun in his head, like why not just have it in a holster? So they're clearly idiots. They're pretty bad. Okay, so this is interesting because I like It Takes You Away, and I like the Solar Track, and I like that it's a frog, but I've never really, considered it as a villain. It's lonely. It's not trying to hurt anybody, but it is still the cause of the problems. So I'm going to go with pretty good. Like, I love the solar trike. Like, I love it as a conception, but I don't feel it's enough fully in the vein of a villain to put it any higher than pretty good. But like, again, as I've noted a couple times, I like really weird ideas. I like when really weird ideas seep into sci-fi, and that's a really weird idea. And I love it too much. The Weeping Angels. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. They have been frustratingly overused. I have to keep making this smaller. I forgot how many things there are in this. They are frustratingly overused. It's been diminishing turns pretty much all the way down, but their first appearance was amazing. Their second appearance was pretty good and added some interesting new ideas. And as much as logistically the Angels Take Manhattan falls apart really badly, they are well used in terms of being an exit point for Amy and Rory. But I'm not putting them higher than that because it has been diminishing returns for a while now. They are a good concept though. There's the Cyborg. He's fine. He's mid. He's fine. I know that face, but why am I drawing a blank? Why am I drawing a blank? I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on that too. Chat, help me out on these two. They're awful. I know I've put most of the cases of there didn't need to be a monster in pretty bad but not awful, but these things, Morax, that's what they are. They are legitimately awful because they wreck the episode and they require so much exposition to work. And yeah, they completely kill what's good about it. Oh, Sky Silvestri, Midnight. Oh, yeah, top. Absolute legend. The Midnight entity is, mwah. Oh, man. Oh, Midnight's real good. These are the Kill the Moon Spiders. They're pretty bad. That's another unnecessary monster. Like, the situation of the moon's gonna break apart is already enough of a problem. Like, you don't need the monsters. So, the werewolf, you know what? The CGI does not hold up at all, but it's not bad, but it's not good. It's decent. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, okay. So, they are breaking up. Oh, they're breaking up the Cybermen into different appearances. Oh, first of all, I need to reassess this one down to not bad, but not good, because that's the Cybermen specifically. Because these ones are the ones from Nightmare in Silver. And they're also not bad, but not good. I appreciate the idea of like a more fully upgraded, like they have been improving and like they're more dangerous, and if there's even one on a planet, you have to destroy the whole planet, but like, it's just not a good episode. They're not well used. Okay, here's controversy time. The new Paradigm Daleks. They're pretty good. They weren't utilized almost at all after their first appearance, but I love the idea of them. I don't have a problem with the Skittles color theme. I thought their introduction was really neat. I wanted to see more of them. I really, really did. It's a shame we didn't get to. I like them. This dude from, why can't I think of episode names today? The Doctor's Daughter. He's fine. He's not bad. He's not good. He works for the purposes. Ooh, House. House is great. House is legendary. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love House. Again, with that, just with the voice, the sense of strength and power, and like, oh man, he's gonna tear apart everything. Yeah, no, he's good. He's real good. I like House a lot. And again, wonderfully bizarre concept. It's like a trash ball planet, but it's also conscious. It's weird. It's creepy. The voice is fantastic. Michael Sheen. Yeah. It's real good. These are the things from the the girl who lived, the girl who died, because it's the girl who died, the woman who lived. The girl who died, they're fine. Like they would go down to pretty bad if I felt the story didn't need them. It kind of does, but they're fine. Donagata, you are amazing. Thank you so much for the super chat, for the sticker. Much appreciated. I like that. Thank you very much. Okay, John Sims Master is not bad, but not good. So, like, here's a big distinction for me. There's something about the manic energy that Sacha Dhawan's Master has that works in a way that Sims doesn't. And I'm going to have to quantify that better when I eventually do a Master re-ranking, but Sim worked better for me as time went on, but in his initial series 3, I didn't like him at all, and he was fine in the end of Time 2-parter. I liked him best in The Doctor Falls, but he hasn't been great for me. So that just looks like generic Dalek. I don't think that's a specific one, which would put it at pretty good, because Daleks generally are pretty good. The Sycorax! The Sycorax are pretty good, actually. They're kind of silly, but I kind of like the way that they operate in that it's all show and bluster and like blood control, which makes people afraid and ready to surrender because they think, they can make people walk off a roof, but they can't. It's just a trick. So I like that they are intimidating, but like a lot of it is just bluster. I like them. They're effective. Okay, so this is the Cyberman from The Next Doctor, I believe. Is fine. They're fine. They're fine. Oh, the mutated pig slaves. Pretty bad. Unnecessary. Ooh. Okay, I'm slightly cheating putting Derek Jacobi's War Master up in Legendary because I know I said I was going to restrict this to how they worked within New Who, but I have listened to some of his stuff on Big Finish, and I can't pretend it doesn't exist. He's so good. We did not get nearly enough of him on screen, but he's so good. He's so goddamn good. Oh, that was Cyber Controller from Age of Steel. Okay, that's still not bad, not good. He stays the same place regardless. Mummy on the Orient Express is pretty... No, Is it pretty good or is he legendary? Is he pretty good or is he legend? I'm looking at who he's clustered with. He's up here. I like the Mummy a lot. I love just how old school horror movie he looks and the feel and the slow movement and the countdown clock and just the sense of the way he's defeated. I like that Mummy a lot. I love that episode anyways, but I like that Mummy a lot. That's a legendary Mummy. It's Lion-O from The Woman Who Lived. He's actually pretty bad. It could have been not bad, but not good. That story does kind of need a villain, but like it's just so friggin' generic. It's like whatever. What's his face from Husbands of River Song? The one whose body that actually is. And if I count the body as a villain too, he's actually pretty good. As far as shouty villains go, he's appropriately hateable. He's not shouting 100% of the time. He does calm down a few times, which gives him some layers. He's pretty good. Hydroflax, thank you. He's pretty good. Okay, so Heather, I believe her name is, but this is the sentient oil from the pilot, which is pretty good. Again, it's such a weird concept, and I honestly think that they did dripping water as a scary effect more effectively here than in Waters of Mars. I don't think anyone else believes that, but that's what I think. Evil Capitalist from Thin Ice. Oh yeah, he's pretty good. He is pretty good as a villain. He's deeply hateable, and that story needed a human villain specifically, and he's real good for that. He's just bad as a human being, but in a way that human beings are. Not unreasonably, just very much in that way. Oxygen. Okay, so what they've gotten there is they've got a body in the suit. So I'm going to assess here with oxygen, I'm going to assess it as the system and the AI that is running things, or honestly, even the corporation. And putting all that into play, that's legendary. That is capitalism is the villain, which is a little bit what's going on with the guy from Thin Ice, but Oxygen did it bigger, Oxygen did it better, Oxygen did it creepier, and Oxygen did it in a way that, like, yeah, if we ever get to a point where it is possible to monetize air, yeah, this is actually what would happen. And anyone who says that wouldn't happen, like, why do we pay for water? We all need water. You need water to live. They're already making us pay for a vital life-sustaining resource. Why would they stop there if they could do it with anything else? World Enough in Time, the Mondus Cybermen. Yep. Oh, wow, they were so creepy. They were so creepy. Oh, it brought back that body horror so well for the Cybermen. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, this is the Dalek from Resolution. Excuse me. So this is the Reconnaissance Dalek, which is pretty good. Having rewatched that one relatively recently, I like the idea of it. I like the way it pilots a human being. I like the way that it cobbles together its own casing. I think it's actually pretty effective. I would be down for another Reconnaissance Dalek showing up again at some point. Oh, this is the dude from Spyfall. He's fine. He's mid. He's effective enough. More Daleks. I'm not sure what from. If anyone can tell me what story those Daleks are from, let me know. The ghosts in the Under the Lake and Before the Flood. They're pretty effectively creepy. They're pretty good. By the end, it's kind of debatable how much of the villains that... Well, they are... Yeah, no, you can count them as the villains. We'll see if the Fisher King shows up. But yeah, they're effectively creepy. The Dalek Prime Minister from Asylum of the Daleks. Oh, okay. He's pretty good. I know some people, like a lot of people, deeply hate Asylum. I'm sorry. I think it's real good. The Pating. The Pating is awful. The Pating is yet another case where the circumstances didn't need a monster. You just needed to have the ship breaking down. That was ultimately the threat. Having it be this tiny Stitch-looking thing, no. The Pating doesn't work at all. The Pyrovillians. They're fine. They work well enough, all things considered. Okay, I shouldn't have to shrink the window anymore from there. I think we've got it now. Actually, hang on. Let me shift that over a little bit, so you can see more of what's coming up. So this is the home stretch. This is the home stretch at this point. But yeah, the Pyrovillians, they're fine. Fires of Pompeii is actually quite good, but it's really good as a character piece for the Doctor and Donna especially. And it's got a strong supporting cast, but the Pyrovillians, they're just fine. Oh, so we've got the Arachnus Queen, and then whatever the equivalent was from Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. The Arachnus Queen is pretty bad. The design is real cool, and I love that it's practical, but you can tell that the actress couldn't speak around the mouthpiece, and they didn't have her dub it over. So, like, she sounds terrible, and she spends, like, half her time going, "My children!" Which was a shame, because it's a really good visual design. I think the variation that we got in Nikola Tesla was better, and so that goes up to not bad, but not good. All right. Here's where we get to be potentially controversial again. The Reapers. The Reapers are awful because this is another case of this is a story that needs no villain, needs no monster. time is falling apart. You do not need to embody that in a monster that is never going to show up again, which makes no sense logistically, given the circumstances you said under which they come about. We should have seen them more times. I'm glad we haven't, because I think they're stupid. And hopefully all future writers for Doctor Who do as well. But you don't need them. Everything good about that episode, and I do think Father's Day is overrated anyways, but everything good about that episode is about the character interactions. It's about the drama. It's about the sense of loss, of trying to grab onto something that you have never had. And you can just, like, imagine if there wasn't a monster on the church door. Instead, they look down the street and it's nothing. And that is what's encroaching. You open the church door and, like, there's just a void. And it's just, everything is compressing down. You don't need them as a monster. They drag it down. They're not interesting in their design. I hate them. I hate them. This is more Cybermen. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. That's all I've got to say about them. What is this? I'm not sure what that is. Help me out, chat. I'm not sure what that is. These things, I forget what they are. I forget what they're called. But they're actually pretty effective design and pretty weird. I think they're pretty good. They're from Spyfall. Okay. The silence is tough for me. Because conceptually, and this was a bit of a, it's the sexy vampire fish. Okay, we'll come back to that. Green Man group. Okay, so the silence conceptually, I think, is actually scarier than the Weeping Angels. And I think in their first appearance, they are masterfully used. And unfortunately, much like the Weeping Angels, we get diminishing returns every time they show up. So if I could restrict it to their first appearance, if I could restrict it to the Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, they'd be legendary. But if I have to take everything into account, they are pretty good. And I wish I could put them higher than that. So sexy vampire fish, they're pretty bad. They're generic and they just, yeah. So the Silurians from the two-parter, Hollow Earth and Cold Blood. So if I'm assessing this one specifically, whose name I now forget, she is the standard for a Silurian villain, which is the one who refuses to accept the idea of peace. And, you know, it has the standard problem a lot of those have, which is a fundamental unreasonableness. If you don't get to know them really well, they just come across as pig-headed, a little bit straw-man-y, which she does. It's effective, it works, but whatever. Oh, the cat nurses. They're pretty bad. I mean, the design isn't great. Their whole plan is weird and convoluted. Oh, geez, this thing from the Caretaker. It's awful. Remember how I said earlier, I hate when robotic things like announce what they're doing? Like how the angels were, not the Weeping Angels, but the angels from Voyage of the Damned were going, kill, kill. This thing, I'd forgotten this until I rewatched it. This thing announces its every single move. Targeting, searching, firing. Like, shut up! Who designs a weapon to announce loudly what it's doing? It's so bad. The Skolox Blitzer. Thank you. You folks are really coming through for me. It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. Oh, the giant spiders. They're pretty bad. Like, there isn't, like, I've said with a number of other things, there's a lot of things I don't find inherently creepy. I don't find mannequins or clowns or, that kind of stuff inherently creepy. I do find spiders a little bit creepy, though. So that's what's keeping them off awful. They are super generic as a thing, but whatever. This is Daleks again. Not sure where those are from. This one it's just a background. It was just a retro Dalek from, which is familiar. It's fine. There was no reason for it to be there. This guy is almost good. He's not, though. So this is from, crap. What's it called? Knock Knock. And he's where things go with that get weird in a way that doesn't work. Like, I do like weird, but weird sometimes derails it. And he had a good vibe. He had a good performance, but his character doesn't quite work. The Beast. I love the Beast. I love the Beast. I love the Beast. Whether it is that thing or whether it's possessing somebody, like, I love this thing. I love this thing. And it's just so, it's so massive and just trying to wrap your head around it. Like, how can you be real? And even the Doctor having to go, I accept that you exist. I don't have to accept what you are, but your physical existence, I'll give you that. Oh, I like the Beast a lot. What else we got here? Oh, these things. So these weird generic things that are from Power of Three. They're basically just zombies. They're fine. They function. I'm jumping around because I'm trying to tell what some of this stuff is. The Zygons. The Zygons have been pretty good, actually, when they've been brought back. So yeah, they can go there. I am trying to wrap it up. I'm trying to finish up in an hour and a half. So let's see. Oh, the Slitheen. You know what? I've softened on them a little bit. Before I would have put them under pretty bad, but I'm going to go with not bad, but not good for them. The visual design hurts them a lot, but they're not too bad. Special Weapons Dalek is, I mean, it's there just to get a pop from fans. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with having it there. I just don't care that much. Is this anything other than just a generic Dalek? This one over here? Can people tell me? And also, what the hell is this? I can't tell what that is either. Is that Praxius? I can't remember what the villain there is. I don't know. So these are sort of the metal-eating stingray things. They're very generic. They're just, we need a monster. Here's a monster. They're not bad. They don't add anything, but they're not bad. Okay, so that is Praxius. This is Magician's Apprentice. So this is just, again, this is another filler Dalek. All right, so Praxius, all right. Trying to decide what to do with Praxius is tricky because I actually, the way it manifests on the skin, it actually super unnerves me. But I can barely remember anything other than the look of it. So I think I gotta put them in not bad, but not good, because as creepy as like the formation of it is on people, like it does unsettle me a lot. I can't remember anything else about them than that. So, yeah. So this is from Journey to the Center of the TARDIS. This is pretty bad. This is pretty bad because, oh geez, I do have to keep shrinking it down. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. So yeah, the Journey to the Center of the TARDIS was a great title and a good idea, but like finding out what these things are it's dumb, and they weren't that creepy in the first place. Actually, you know what? I can't see when it's this small, so I'm just gonna have to scroll it down. That's the Lazarus. The Lazarus Monster is awful. The Lazarus Monster I can safely call awful because it looks terrible. The CGI is terrible. The concept of it does not work at all. Like, you're really going to try and tell me that this thing is somewhere coded in the human DNA? No, you reach too far. It's dumb. And that episode's not good anyway. Oh, Pius83, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate the love for the Mondasian Cybermen. Without World Enough in Time knew who makes it hard to be a Cyberman fan. That's fair. They are really good in that, though, aren't they? Simshaw. Here's the thing about Simshaw. As a concept unto himself, he's not awful. He's not recurring villain worthy, but the teeth are kind of unsettling. The voice works. I think the idea that he is basically cheating at what he's doing tracks. The stories that he's in, especially the last one, are not good at all. And the way the narrative bends over backwards to try and make him a threat doesn't work at all. But that's a problem with the story, not the... I think actually as a villain, he's not bad. He's not bad. He's not good, but he's not bad. The Toclafane. Kind of generic until you get to the revelation of what they are. But that revelation is pretty damn unnerving, so they get to plop right up there. So this is the sort of cyber leader from, I believe, the Next Doctor. He's just, you know, a Cyberman. I mean, I like that they brought back the sort of open casing where you could see the brain. That was a nice callback visually, but, like, not a lot gets done with him. And what the hell is that? Oh! Okay, so we get to end on the... CNC 97. Thank you very much for the sticker. I appreciate that. We get to end on the thing that was hunting the Doctor in Heaven Sent, which is one of my favorite episodes. And that thing's real unsettling. The sense we get from it, the flies that accompany it. I love that we never get a proper look at it. Because it is a little bit more of a narrative function than something that actually thinks for itself, I can't put it in legendary. It is pretty good. Like, the episode's legendary. It is pretty good. How did we fill out? Okay, so we've got the most in... Actually, we've got... we've got the most in the mid-range, where it's like, that works. That's fine. That's not awful. And then we've got actually the next most in pretty good, which is nice to see. That pretty good is filled out quite decently. And I think some of this has to do with, like, me thinking of these as villains almost sometimes separate from the stories they're in. Sometimes they get stories that aren't worthy of them. But sometimes, like, that's a pretty good villain. Could have been a great one in a better story. And then in terms of bulking out, then it's pretty bad. Which, yeah, that pretty bad is mostly filled out with a lot of things that are either ultra generic or didn't need to be there in the first place. That's where a lot of those are. And then it's legendary, which this is the upper echelon. I think these are the legendary villains. Supreme Dalek, House, I forget what they're called, but the two gods from Can You Hear Me? The Clockwork Androids, Midnight Entity, Missy, the Dalek from Dalek, the Dream Lord, Vashta Narada, Mr. Finch, the Empty Child, the Family of Blood, the War Master, the Mummy, I'm just going to call it the System from Oxygen, the Mondasian Cyberman, and the Beast. Like, that's a legendary lineup in my mind. And that means that the least occupied is actually the awful category, which is also nice to see. Like, the ones that are down there, oh boy. Like, and that's the thing, like, some of these stories, I'm like, I don't like these stories at all, but the villain isn't the problem. These are all down here because they're cases of the villain and or monster is a big part of the problem. Maybe it's even the only thing that's deeply wrong with it, like, say, with Father's Day, but, like, they bring nothing positive. They don't even work as fill-in. Yeah. But it's nice to see that ended up being the least occupied section. So, yeah, that's actually going to wrap us up with all of this. Thank you all for joining me. It's funny, I actually had no clue how many people were in the chat because the way I had to have it set up, my sort of concurrent viewers section, I wasn't in, which I'm now seeing the decent turnout for this. Thank you very much. Hope folks had fun. I'm live shows like this I'm not planning to make these a regular feature of Saturdays. I needed to do it this week because I really needed something that didn't require prep time because I needed the time to finish up some other things. Some of which is for this channel. I've also got a video going up on the Vera Wild channel on Wednesday that I've been working on forever. So, like, to try and get some of that stuff done, I needed the breathing room. That's why we did this. But I think it was fun. I had fun, and I hope you did too. So thank you very much for joining me. And I want you to remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, you are loved. You are the council. I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. And now for something that people who don't come to the normal live streams will not understand. McCavity!